What is going on? Oh, wait. Turn the music off. My bad. What is going on, Florida State family, Seminole Nation, in the 863 tribe? It's your boy POLK, a.k.a. a.k.a. the goddamn truth. It is a Thursday evening, Friday morning for yours truly. And I had to get good news and bad news. Here's the good news. Well, let's start with the bad news. Bad news. This might be the last video until like the instant reaction to the Miami game. So there won't be a lot of build up in Miami hate week this week. Because the good news is this should be the last damn video I do in this country. So take that for what it's worth. This should be the last time y'all see this behind me. So the next time you see me, it should be, or it will be in some familiar settings. So that's great news. But before we get started, y'all already know, let's pay the bills. Hit the like button, subscribe. Share the video. Let's continue to share share the videos, build the community, build the 863 tribe, which is the most interactive space on the internet for the Florida State football fan, in my opinion. We have a few things, well, mainly two things. We're going to talk Duke and how Duke, insanely enough, Duke is a sod game. If you don't know what a sod game is, that's when FSU is a road underdog And if they win that game, they obviously take a piece of the sod home to the sod cemetery. Florida State being a underdog to Duke is absolutely ridiculous. But we will talk about that in a minute. Second part of tonight's conversation I want to dig into is this alleged or potential current quarterback controversy that FSU might have under its nose right now. Are we dealing with a QB controversy? Has the QBs been handled properly? I want to get into all of that tonight. But again, pay the bills first. Like, subscribe, share, get in the comment section. This is episode 108 of The Hangover. And I want to, obviously, we do a roll call every hangover. So get in the comment section. Let's get all that stuff. Let's get cracking. And I will also say, actually, I just lost my train of thought. Holy cow. I was thinking faster than I was talking, and I lost what I was going to say. So, yeah, just get in the comment section. It'll probably come back to me. We'll hit a roll call, and then we'll get into tonight's conversation piece. And Duke, not going to do any crazy in-depth stuff on Duke. Just want to talk a little bit about that game and what that game even means at this point. Things that we should be looking forward to in the game. And obviously the quarterback situation. An unwarranted quarterback situation, in my opinion. By the way, baseball is on tonight. So if y'all are watching baseball, go ahead and get. Thought my Yankees was about to win, and then I look, and the Commanders have tied it up at the bottom of the ninth. How the hell that happened? Who knows? So there's that. I'll give it a little bit more time. We'll get in the comments. We'll do a quick roll call, man. And I won't waste too much of your time tonight as we get into what we came here to all talk about. All right. Let's do it. Obviously, I'll shout you guys out as you come on in. Oh, by the way, the internet's been acting really crazy here like the last day. So I don't know. Everything looks good so far on my end. Hopefully it continues to look okay. But I had a hell of a time even just trying to boot everything. I don't know if it's the computer or my internet. It might be time for a new computer. Not too sure. So just to keep that in mind, hopefully we continue to keep a good connection. And so far, so good. It does look like I'm sounding good and looking good as always. All right, man. DC Dreads in the building. Vontae's in the building. Stino's in the building. France Saint Crier. This might be a new one. I'm going to put you on the screen. I don't know if I've seen you before. If you are new, thank you. Welcome. If you're not new and you just changed your name, let me know who you previously were. But France Saint Crier in the building. Michael Adams, KCS. Vontae, I think I said you already, Vontae, but that's okay. You get 2 shots out. It's fine. Grand champion, all in the building. All right, let's do it. 33 people in here, so let's get the lights up. Also, Virginia Tech's playing Boston College tonight, and last I checked, Vontae was smoking them. I think it was 21-0 the last time I checked. So that's also happening. As far as ACC play goes, one of the teams you lost to, Boston College, is getting pretty much dragged through the mud by Virginia Tech. And also KCD was up. And also, we might even talk a little bit of Miami just because, I won't probably be able to talk about Miami in the upcoming week. So we might pivot a little bit to Miami, which is next week. FSU Duke, man. FSU Duke. Again, FSU is, I believe, a 3-point underdog going into Durham, North Carolina. And Duke is 5-1, FSU 1-5. We're not going to get deep into like some type of crazy in-depth break. It doesn't matter. Okay, we watched enough of the Florida State Seminoles this year to understand that getting into some crazy breakdown of what's going on is very irrelevant to what this team was, is, and maybe going to be. What is important is the continued movement, youth movement that this team seems to have undertaken. That to me, that is what really matters. Excuse me while I am going to try to pull up, just pull up the stats here or pull up the game. But that's what really matters, man. We got Brock Glenn. I'm very interested, and we'll talk more quarterbacks a little later. But, of course, we have Brock Glenn, and he's getting 2 full weeks to prepare for me will be tomorrow morning's game. For y'all, will be tomorrow night's game. Anyways, Brock, after, notoriously getting for lack of a better term, the shit end of the stick every time he seemed to have to come to play or fill in, finally gets 2 weeks to prepare. He was great. I think he was your highest rated player from 2 weeks ago against Clemson of all teams. Like, the man graded out very well, made some throws. Of course, he had people give him some drops, miscommunications. O-line does what the O-line's been doing. And but Brock Glenn, I believe, has shown some promise. So I'm very interested to see how does a Brock Glenn look going into a game where they had 2 weeks to not only prepare him, formulate a game plan around his strengths, figure out what throws he's comfortable with, what he's not comfortable with, what looks, they've had this 2 weeks to prepare this man. And I am very interested and intrigued and anxious I want to see what that looks like, right? I want to see what that looks like. I want to see how that offense responds to that preparation. I believe the offense, for the most part, responded well to him in Clemson. I thought, regardless of did we score like more points? No. Did we win the game? Obviously not. But I don't think, if you are just being honest, I don't think anyone could look at the way the offense looked and go, well, it does. It looks a little bit more lively. Didn't look dead in the water, in my opinion. There were opportunities. Also, obviously, getting some more receivers involved. Interested to see how that works out. The depth chart came out. Some of that stuff with the depth chart is probably some games. I know people were, myself, like I'm looking at certain guys continue to be on the depth chart and saying to myself, what the hell's going on? Is that just we're throwing out the depth chart for my not Miami, but opposing teams in general, whether it's Duke or whoever, are going to look at the depth chart and think one thing or another. I'm not sure. Me personally, I feel like kind of off topic, but still on the topic that I'm trying to get at overall. Mike Norvell recently said that they were not playing music at practice. Music ain't the issue at practice, but I understand the message that's trying to be sent. I can appreciate the message that's trying to be sent. I say all of that to say maybe the depth chart would send a bigger message. Do those individuals on that team really care about music at practice? Or would they care to see that their name has been completely removed from the depth chart? That depth chart might send a bigger message to the team. Forget about, at this point, FSU's not playing opponents. They're playing themselves and trying to figure out what the hell they're going to be for the next half of this season and potentially going into a week 1 game against the Alabama Crimson Tide. They have a lot to figure out in that time span, so not to get embarrassed. And maybe I'm nitpicking here. Maybe I'm making much to do about nothing. But maybe the depth chart sends a message to certain individuals that your play should reflect. I know everybody's talking about, well, they practice well. At this point, it's pretty apparent that the practice. I hate to say that practice doesn't matter, but like the good old Allen Iverson, we talking about practice. We're not talking about when the lights come on, and that Brock Glennon, when the lights came on, like better than anything we saw from DJU the first 5 games of the season. We talking about practice. You know what I'm saying? And we talking about practice. We ain't talking about when the lights came on that our freshman tight ends look better than anything Morlock has looked the best first 5 games of the season. We talking about practice because Morlock practiced well. You know, again, this isn't to discredit practice. Football and basketball is obviously a different game. And I think the term gamer at times gets overused, but it's evident to me that either the coaches don't even know what they're looking at in practice. I mean, that's a whole different conversation that we could obviously get into. Or that guys can practice well in familiar, safe settings, but against competition, they fold like lawn chairs. So, you know, that's just how I'm looking at it as far as I'm concerned. Ice Cold Nolan in the building. What's good with you? KCS, what's up? Todd in the building. You hit the like button. So yeah, FSU's got Duke. They got Malik. Just looking at Duke real quick. Again, Malik Murphy leads that team. That is the quarterback of the team. That is a quarterback that I personally thought FSU should have spun the block on in the transfer portal. Now, I'm not saying Malik Murphy's amazing. I'm not saying he's tearing up college football. But he's thrown 60% completion percentage, 14 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and 1,400 yards on the season. He has been sacked 8 times. I mean, that's better what you were getting out of DJ. I don't care what anybody says. So they have him. He's leading the charge for that team. Then they have their running back with over 500 yards on the year and 3 touchdowns, where our running back has 230 yards on our leading rusher. Then their leading receiver has 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. Our leading receiver has 300. Inept offense, obviously, from the FSU side. The numbers don't necessarily say that Duke has an amazing offense, right? Duke's offense isn't exactly world-beating. The expectation, I believe, is that this is supposed to be a defensive game, sort of a Manny Diaz type staple of a game, I would say. So all of that is going to be fairly interesting as far as 2 what you would call not so very good offenses. And how do they play? How do they FSU's defense, does it come to play? And can the offense, even if it does come to play, can the offense give the defense a reason to continue to play hard? Right? That's kind of been the case with Florida State all year. There have been many moments. Now, FSU's defense has really been a lot of bend and don't break. They give up a ton of yards. FSU's defense gives up a ton of yards, but they do seem to buckle down in the red zone. Can you continue to motivate that defense to play better? Speaking of that youth movement and going back, we talked about the O-line. There was some change. We didn't talk about the O-line, but there were some changes on the O-line. Jalen Early starting at guard. Obviously, the freshman Otto looks like that's probably, with Richie Leonard being done for the year. I know Keandre Jones has been battling injuries, and they seem to, I don't know if they've moved on from him or if he's just not healthy to play. They list him, and I believe that they've benched Terrace Ferguson at this point, and rightfully so. Has not been good at all. They've decided to go that youth movement. Early's played some tackle where he's graded fairly well. I guess they're going to move him in. Alex Atkins saying he wants some more athletic guards. So him and Otto are going to play the guard. We'll see how that pans out. I'm interested to see, obviously, how that new mix at guard pans out. I'm very. One of the themes about this coaching staff is being so late to make changes, in my opinion. I don't understand why it took till 6 games to think about, well, let's try Jalen Early. Why did you let 69 be terrible for 6 games before you decided to make a move? everything that this staff has done this year has been a very piss poor reaction. And I can't help but to say I think it costs them at least 2 to 3 games in this 1-5 season. I'm still trying to understand why you brought in the Harvard grad Rizzi with Maurice playing this poorly. You brought him in to be the center. Start him. Give him a shot. He can't be any worse. He can't be. And again, I'm not in practices. I don't know what they're looking at. But every time they make these adjustments, they make them a game or two too late. And we're sitting here going, why didn't you make this adjustment 2 or 3 games ago? In my opinion, Rizzi needs to get an opportunity to show. If not, what the hell did you bring him here for? What the hell you waste a scholarship on a kid from Harvard if you ain't going to give him a shot? I think Rizzi deserves a shot. Unfortunately, with the tackle position, there's not really much. If you're not going to give Rizzi that, I think what they would do if you had another option at tackle, you probably would put Darius Washington at center. They obviously don't have that option because you don't have another option at center or at tackle, excuse me. But going back to that defense before I got sidetracked on the offense, there's also, a little bit of a youth movement on the defensive side of the ball where they've got, obviously, Lundy's out for the year. So you're going to see a lot more of your, obviously, Cryer, Nicholson, and Graham. Those are all. Graham's a sophomore, redshirt sophomore, if I'm not mistaken. Nicholson, a freshman. I think he's a redshirt freshman. Or he might be a true sophomore. I'm not sure. Did anybody remember the Nicholson's redshirt get? I don't remember. But I know he's a year 2 player, but he's either a freshman or a sophomore. And then Cryer is in the same boat as Nicholson. He's either a freshman or a sophomore. I don't recall if those 2 guys' red shirts got saved or not. And then you got Kirkland, I think, listed starting beside Shaheem Brown. Like that move. I think Kirkland's been one of the bright spots in your secondary. He makes mistakes, but he's a guy that is always around the football, always active, always in on the play. That's what I like to see. I'd be interested. They need to mix up a little bit of those corners, but they seem to be pretty steadfast with Knowles, Cypress, and of course AZ. So there's a little bit of there's a youth movement going on across the entire team. At what point, if any, is Shaheem Brown flat out back? It's one of the craziest things about this season, despite the obvious coaching blunders, has also been the egregious play from guys that you counted on, guys that were good, guys that are seniors, redshirt seniors, guys that you expected to lead this team and be pivotal points. Darius, a guy that I hyped up this offseason. I thought Darius might be the best football player on the team, has been absolutely atrocious. I cannot believe the fall off from Darius Washington. It's crazy. Maurice Smith, a guy who's been at center. I feel like Darius has been the center at Florida State for 10 years, it feels like to me. For him to have the snapping problems at this point in his career is absolutely unacceptable. I think Farmer has played amazing. Farmer might be the only guy. Pat, I don't think Pat has played as bad as people say, but he has not had the impact that we were hoping for. That is a fair criticism of Pat, but I don't think Pat has been as bad as people say. I just don't think he's been as impactful as we were expecting. But Darrell Jackson has been, for a guy that big, for him to be able to be moved so easily, dare I say Miami fans were right about that guy. It's, unfortunately. Shaheem Brown, and that brings me to guys like Shaheem Brown, has not played. He's been very up and down, but he's not played well this season. Missing Akeem Dent seems to have affected Shaheem Brown. It really does. Maybe you got to give more love to Akeem Dent and keeping Shaheem Brown in line in that back end of that secondary, because it's pretty obvious that Shaheem has been all over the place. Just that stuff has been so crazy to see. I don't think any of us were expecting that in this 1-5 start. Let's get to some comments Then we'll continue with the Duke Florida State conversation for a little bit. And then I want to get into maybe the more meaty part of this conversation. What's FSU Tony? No, sir, not me. Brandon. What's good? Brandon says, we'll be on the wrong side of history tomorrow. I mean, hey. Actually, I take what I said back earlier when I said this would be the last live stream. This will not be the last live stream. I will be doing a post-game reaction to the Duke game. That will be the last live stream in this country. Anyway, you'll find out how I feel if we lose the Duke. I mean, at this point, I have zero expectations. But damn, show me something. Show me something. Virginia Tech up 28-0. Why is my phone going off? Okay. No, sir, not me. See, I think they should move Hussey to Nick. He can't play safety, in my opinion. I think we are so quick to jump the gun. Just last year, everybody wanted to see Conrad Hussey because Conrad Hussey didn't he play well last year in his sparing time? He had some moments. To say he could play nickel, I can understand you know maybe playing a hybrid safety position is an interesting way, but to just give up on safety for a true second-year player, I'm not ready to do that. I'm not gonna do that. A lot of it has to do with who is Conrad playing besides. Shaheem has not played well. There's a guy named, again, Akeem Dent in that back end of that defense who had been at FSU and been in college for a long time himself, who kept a lot of things in line and kept people and communicated well. The problem isn't that Hussey can't play. The whole secondary doesn't communicate, which a lot of that, in my opinion, falls on Shaheem Brown because he's the elder statesman in that secondary. Talk about Maurice Smith being here for 10 years. So has Shaheem Brown. He should be able to communicate a lot better than he's doing. He should be able to get that back end of that defense lined up and in sound positions. And I personally believe that falls on him. So that's me. I'm not giving up on guys like Kyle. I remember when people wanted to give up on Akeem Dent a long time ago and how that turned out. So while I have known to give up on certain players like Jarian Jones, who proved me wrong, I'm not ready to give up on Conrad Hussey. Lions has played very well, and Lions has his snaps have increased. The thing about Jackson is it's easy to say get Jackson off the field. Here's the problem. You don't have anybody that fills that role. You don't have a 330-pound body in anybody else. Lions is more of a a rushing interior D lineman, not a guy who's a space eater. You need some type of a space eater. That's been the biggest issue is you don't have anybody to replace Jackson. I like Lyons. I think Lyons is a good player, has a bright future, but different skill set. You know what I mean? What's up, Ronald Smith? Kusami was good. Chris Smith. Peter Shields in the building. But let's keep going with the Duke stuff, and then again we'll get into the other parts of the conversation. Duke, while they run the ball better than Florida State, they don't have a great rushing game either. They average more. They average 3.5 yards a carry with a long of 25 yards. If you compare that to Florida State, I think Florida State's average about a yard less. But again, you have two running games that aren't as necessarily lighting college football on fire by any metric. Again, a lot of this comes down to, I think, can defense generate some points in this game? Might be the difference. Again, I don't think you have two great offenses. So, like I said, Duke averages 3.5 yards a carry. Florida State averages 2.2 yards a carry. So, again, two bad running games. Just obviously FSU's is worse. We already talked about quarterbacks. Again, Malik Murphy was a guy that I thought FSU should have targeted in the transfer portal myself. But I'm interested and very happy to see what Brock can do going forward. Personally, I have no issues with that whatsoever. I was only calling for Brock weeks. I'm not the only one. I'm just saying we were calling for Brock weeks ago. And so giving him, now he has his opportunity against Duke. He's had 2 weeks to prepare, coming off what was a fairly decent game against Clemson. And I'm interested to see how it stacks up. I would say Duke has the edge in quarterback. I'm going to say the running game is even, but we'll see. I'm not sure the O-line's much better than Florida State's. I don't know the specifics on that. I saw your boy's been sacked 8 times. I'm curious to know how much let me go see. How many times was DJ? So Malik Murphy's been sacked 8 times. Let me see how many times Uiagalelei was sacked. I'm not going to count. Brock wasn't sacked that much against Clemson. I don't remember how many sacks Clemson had, but I don't feel like Brock was on the ground that much. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. But I want to see DJ was sacked 12 times. So 8 to 12. Again, that's crazy, man. In the first 5 games, DJ was sacked 12 times. In 2023 at Oregon State, DJ was sacked 11 times the entire season. So if O-line's not good, again, I think you got 2 O-lines who might be fairly even in that case. Maybe Duke has well, Murphy's a better quarterback. So that might also attribute to why he's taken less sacks than Uiagalelei. But again, I think you got 2 offenses that aren't going to be very explosive in this game. I don't expect a high-scoring game at all unless Brock Glenn just comes out clicking. Probably not likely, but I'm interested to see how, again, I am interested to see how Brock plays. D. Thompson, what's good? So, yeah, you got those 2 offenses, and then you have the strengths being the defense. Even FSU's strength is defense. The problem with FSU's defense is it's on the field way too much, and at times has played a bit uninspired. But you can't blame them when you watch that offense. You can't blame them as far as I'm concerned. So I think, the records are polar opposites, 1-5 and 5-1. I never thought I'd be looking. It's hard to wrap your mind, in my opinion, around a lot of this stuff. There's no way at the beginning of the season you told me Florida State not only would be an underdog to Duke at this time of the year, but that the records would be 1-5 and 5-1, and the 5-1 was Duke, and the 1-5 was Florida State. Absolutely insane. I can't even grasp how that happened. That's a whole nother conversation, probably for a whole nother live stream. We'll have plenty of time in the off season to talk a lot of this stuff, but that's where we're at. That's where we're at, and it looks like, again, maybe a defensive struggle in this game, and the question becomes, well, who's got the better defense? Who's got? And I gotta say, I mean, you probably trust the Manny Diaz defense more. You probably trust the Manny Diaz defense more than you would trust an Adam Fuller defense. So it's gonna be interesting to see, man. It's gonna be interesting to see. Chris says, I think I will take the over on how many dumb penalties we will have, and they come at the worst time, and then it's hard to get momentum on our side. Thoughts on Daryl Jackson taking a vacation on the bye week? I mean, it is what it is. I think everybody kind of knows at this point why he came over to Florida State. I mean, he got his bag. He's doing his thing. Honestly, there's a lot of stuff trending in college football that I'm not a fan of at all. One of the biggest things, and this is not related to Daryl Jackson, but one of the biggest things that I hold on while this bus drives by. I'm pretty sure I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it's pretty loud on my end. Can't wait till I'm home. One of the things, again, not related to Daryl Jackson, but one of the things that's happening in college football right now that I am, I don't know if disgust is the right word. That's a very strong word, but I'm very, not only am I vehemently opposed to what's going on, I'm very interested to see the response from coaches. But it's these guys that are redshirting, just in the middle of the season, have decided that they're redshirting, and that, you know, for whatever reason, whether they weren't, I don't know, whether they're not getting all of this, every situation is different, whether they just ain't playing, ain't getting what they was promised. I don't know. But these, in the middle of the season, I'm quitting, which what that is. You're quitting on your team in the heat of the season, redshirting and saying, I'm in the portal, whatever. This is where I think college football coaches need to take a stand. The kids, the young athletes that are doing this, in my opinion, college coaches should collude and not give those guys a look. Not give them a look. But again, that's another conversation for another day. Hank Moody says, Duke's offense is pedestrian. It's just our defenses as well. I guess Boston College must have scored again. This is a bad dream. I don't see us beating Duke this year. I'm just gonna take a drink to that, man. I got no argument for you, big dog. Freaking embarrassing. G5 coaching staff. Norvell getting paid $10 million a year and can't field a 10-win team or top 10 class is disgusting. Manny gets his guys to understand his defense in year 1, and we got guys consistently out of place in year 5. What's going on, Adam? We got to have a rule about redshirt during the season. We do. We absolutely do. But even if there's not a rule, in my opinion, that's where I believe the coaches should stand up and take a stand. Those guys that want a red shirt, okay, red shirt, lead a program. You probably won't play. You better go to the FCS, Division 2, 3, HBCU ball, wherever it is, but it won't be playing D1 ball. That's just that's just me. Will Dale get another year? Should FSU keep him on the roster if he goes that route? If he gets that injury, like red shirt or whatever, yeah. I'm gonna tell you why. Again, no expectations. I'm not saying Roy Dale would come back from his injury and be LaDainian Tomlinson, but I want you to look at FSU's running back room next year. You are losing. Let's just say you're losing Roy Dale, you're losing LT, you're losing Keziah Holmes, Jalen Lucas. That's just 4 off the rip, which leaves you Cam Davis, Mekhi Danzy, and Sam Singleton. Now, the hope is that all 3 of those guys, that one of those guys, like a Sam Singleton, doesn't transfer, because if you're looking forward, you say to yourself, they probably have more focus on Danzy and Cam Davis than Sam Singleton. That's just an assumption. I'm not saying that's the case. So Sam Singleton might be. I just shot everybody a bird. Sam Singleton might be out of there. So yeah, you bring Roy Dell back. If nothing else, depth. If for nothing else, depth. Again, not telling you he's gonna do whatever. But if you look at that running back room next year, you have one guy committed, assuming he stays committed. So at best case scenario, no one transfers. That's 4. That's 2 true sophomores, a redshirt sophomore, and a freshman. You're gonna need some leadership. You're gonna need some leadership in that backfield. If not bringing Roy Dell back, then you're gonna definitely have to go to the portal and get some experience contributing factors to that backfield. You're 100% going to have to do that. Would it be easier maybe to keep Roy Dell around? It might be. And listen, I know people wasn't happy with his play, But I listened to the young man speak. I listened to the way he carried himself. I thought he was a very good leadership presence in that locker room. So me personally, I'm okay with bringing Roydell back. That's just me, though. I'm looking at numbers. I'm not necessarily looking at any expectations. Get out of here. I'm not looking for any expectations from Roydell Williams at this point. Let me get back to. Hold on. Okay, don't care about that. Paul, what do you take of the staff's handling of Shaheen with the DUI and telling fans he was out? Well, here's the question that I have. I see people talking about it and about how they should have handled it or whatnot. I don't have a problem with handling things in-house. I don't have a problem with them saying that he was out for an injury if he really had a DUI as a way to not air out his dirty laundry. I don't have a problem with that. Now, I have a problem with drunk drivers. I hate that because innocent people's lives get affected when you drive drunk. But my problem is, and I can't or would be, how did they handle it internally? If it was not only did you not air out his dirty laundry nationally, which again, I don't have a problem with that. But if you also didn't do anything, you suspended him a game. I mean, is that enough to suspend him a game? I don't know. What else did he have to do? How was it internally handled? I don't know. But them saying it was an injury, I don't have a problem with that. Don't have a problem with that. Dang, BC is whooping them like that? What is the score? Let's see what the score is. What is it? Is it 35-0? And to Virginia Tech winning 35-0 at this point? That's sad, man. And we let Boston College beat it. It's a 28-14. Okay. It's 28. At least that's what it looks like on my end. 28-14. Yeah, 28-14. Virginia Tech. So Boston College has cut the lead, actually, to 14 points. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. My game might be getting interesting down the stretch there. He says the DUI was out of state in Texas. He should have been. Well, that was the game they played SMU. I'm assuming, but anyway, he should have been benched as well. Again, I don't know what happened. Now, if you want to say that he should have been benched, well, they suspended him a game, so in theory, he was benched for that game. How long should he have been benched? Should he just been permanently benched? I mean, it's easy to sit by or sit on the sideline and go, what should have been done? Again, I don't know what was done. I don't know what was done. And frankly, if you want to say that is a microcosm of a bigger problem, and that we should be holding guys to account. I get all of that, but I also want to remember these things become talking points because FSU's 1-5. That 2013 national championship team had its fair, and not even the big issue, obviously, that revolved around Jameis. There was a lot of other issues on that squad. Legally, most teams look at what's going on in Georgia. Most teams that when they're winning, you have knuckleheads. But because we're losing, it's let's criticize every little detail. And again, I'm I'm not saying that Shaheem Brown, again, I despise drunk drivers. If it was me, who knows what I would have done to the kid. Again, because drunk drivers affect innocent lives, as most activities that are bus again. Stupid bus. Most illegal activities do affect innocent people. But my point is, I'm not making any excuses for Shaheem Brown at all. We're picking that one situation and going what should have been done, as if we were going to make Shaheem Brown the sacrificial lamb for the entire team with that has a litany of problems. I'm not going to put that one incident under a microscope. I'm just not. There's more on this team than that DUI and how it was handled. Believe me. But no, I appreciate that. I appreciate that question, though. My man, Credible Detailing with the $9.99 says, "What's up, Polk? It's Chris Orlando, as always, checking in. How are you, Chris? Hope everybody's okay. Hope everybody's, by the way, not just Chris, but everybody in Florida, Central Florida, everybody that was affected. Hope everybody's recovering from Milton. From what I understand, everybody's pretty much got power back at this point. So I hope everybody's continuing to recover from that, and everybody's safe and getting everything in order. But as always, man, I appreciate your support and your donation, Chris, as always."
With the Seminoles, I've been getting to this paper, focus on my goals. Trying to run this money up and pull up in the road. All this talking gangster, that shit getting old.
Should Mike Norvell go after a young and upcoming? Yes, that's easy answer for me. Absolutely, he should. First of all, he needs to go after an OC. Period. I do like the UNLV coach. The UNLV coach also had very glowing things to say about Norvell, as he's the reason why he's when Norvell made him the coach, he's like one of his bigger influences. Obviously, if you go watch UNLV, very nice offense, and absolutely. Do they flat out demote Atkins? They probably wouldn't. It'd probably be a co-OC, but we would know. Ultimately, I've said this. Mark Norvell needs to bring in an outside offensive coordinator for sure. I can't. 1 second, people. It's always something. People can't leave me alone. Always want to bother me. Even when I'm not working, I got to work. But anyway, like I was saying, yeah, I think they should. They need to bring out an offensive mind. Bring in an offensive mind, period. Maybe allow Atkins to strictly focus on the offensive line. The BC get the ball back again? Well, it looks like I'm missing a pretty good game. Oh yeah, the fam's good, Adam. Appreciate you for asking me. Yeah, everybody good. Everybody good on my end. Everybody good on my end. Let's continue the conversation though. And you guys continue to put your comments and however y'all feel in the comment section. But let's close up this Duke conversation because I don't want to waste too much time on Duke. It's Duke. We'll probably lose to him for the first time ever. That'd be another record Mike Norvell has broken, and not the good way. But ultimately, again, two bad offenses. This is probably a race to 20, and FSU has a very piss-poor track record of getting 20 points this week. So you take your guess of who as to why Duke's favorite. And if you were a betting man, would you bet for Florida State to score 20, 21, 24 points? Because they haven't shown it yet. So that's really what the game comes down to. Who can get to 20 first? The numbers say Duke. We'll see. We will see. Here's the more what I will say interesting conversation to have here. So if you're not paying too much, if you haven't been paying attention, let me fill you in. This is all, by the way, 247. As you guys know, I don't report news. I don't break stories. I'm just a light-skinned dude on YouTube. I give my opinion on what's already been put out there. So when I talk about things and people get upset at me because I'm pushing a narrative, I get that on my Twitter a lot. I don't break the news, guys. I just give my opinions on it. 247 recently came out and said that Luke Kromenhoek has been a little bit disgruntled. He was expected to play against Clemson, and I guess the way the game played out, they didn't get him in the game. And now there is talk of disgruntlement that Brock Glenn had around, I think it was the Memphis game, if I'm not mistaken, where he was expected to play against Memphis, and for whatever reason, he did not play. And so the conversation is, what's going on with the quarterback room? Is this quarterback room being handled correctly? What's going on? Why is everybody disgruntled? Does FSU have a controversy brewing right now in the quarterback room? And if so, well, we know, I was going to say who's to blame, but we know who's to blame. We'll talk about why he is to blame and how he could have prevented all of this. And then, should Luke have that expectation to play? If Mike Norvell, there's talks that we could see Luke Kromenhoek against Duke. If you're Mike Norvell, do you do it? If you're POLK, a.k.a. a.k.a. the goddamn truth, Luke don't play unless he has to. But again, I want to get into all of that stuff on this quarterback because I think, the quarterback position is the biggest position for FSU going forward. The quarterback position is arguably what will make Mike Norvell, in my opinion, ultimately. I know he just signed that extension, so we're stuck for, 3-4 years, however long, until that buyout money becomes feasible to pay. But what makes Mike Norvell either a functioning head coach again or a dead man walking is the success of the current quarterback situation right now. Not some transfer you can go out and get, not some recruit in the 26, 27 class. Brock Glenn and Luke Kromenhoek are going to make Norvell's future here at this university. I believe that, and that's what I want to talk about. So again, hit the like button for your boy, and we're going to get into this conversation here real quick. Share the video. I'm going to read some more comments, and then we're going to dig into this conversation because I think it is the most important conversation that needs to be had, and it's going to be the conversation that we continue to address week in and week out. I don't care if Brock Glenn plays amazing or if he sucks one game. Every game, we're going to have to critique it because the Luke Kromenhoek rumors and rumbles are just going to get louder. This offseason is going to be critical, and I can't believe it, but I'm saying this right now. I'm excited for the offseason, obviously, because the season's dead. But I'm excited for the offseason. I'm excited for these coaching staff changes that have to be made. I'm excited to see what they do as far as personnel-wise with portal, if they can salvage this recruiting class in some degree. So the new players coming in, the new staff coming in, and who wins this quarterback battle. All that stuff is exciting to me, especially as somebody that's going to be a content creator. I will have a very busy offseason, I think. I think we're going to have a very fun offseason. But as far as on the field, everything that happens from here on out is super critical to the future of this program. I got to see Norvell give a game plan strictly to Hakeem and tight ends Thomas and Williams. It's not in his nature, KCS. I mean, there's nothing to believe that it's in his nature. I don't disagree with you. I don't know how you don't go into a game with Brock Glenn and Hakeem Williams. Again, you're 1-5. I don't know how you don't go into a game and say to yourself, I got to get Hakeem at least 8 targets. Got to get the ball. But again, you can't dictate necessarily how many times the ball he'll actually catch that ball, but I got to give him at least 8 targets. I got to give my tight ends 3 to 4 targets apiece between the two of them. Like, that's 16 passes right there that should be going just to those guys you named. Now, they threw the ball 40 times against Clemson, so half of your game plan should maybe be to those guys. Maybe I'm wrong for thinking that way. I don't think I am. Is Fuller coaching for his job, being that the most – in a perfect world, he should be. But I explained this before, B Gaines. I think it's very hard for FSU to justify firing that man, even though I would – let me be clear because I get flack when I say this. I would fire him. I don't believe he's an FSU caliber coordinator. It was – I never really did. I was giving him a lot of slack the last couple of years because his defense was performing. But when you take away the talent, and obviously you take the talent away from anybody, but it's just even the basic concepts of the defense, of how we play defense, how our defensive line plays, how the looks we give. Very, in my opinion, very vanilla, very basic. No wonder we don't cause a lot of turnovers. No wonder none of that stuff. We were so good last year because they did find a nice little 1-2 stunt with Fisk and Verse that was very effective, but also those guys could just beat their one-on-one matchups. So in a perfect world, he's coaching for his job. In the real world, no, I don't believe you can fire him because of the way his defenses has performed the last 2 years. If you fire him, I don't know how you can justify to the next guy that this is a job that you want, because the next guy is looking at Fuller getting fired and saying, this man just had a championship caliber defense, and 1 year later, you're firing him? I don't know if that's a job I want. That means I have a short lease. I don't have a good job security. Just my thought process there. Panama says, I'm afraid to watch this game because my heart says FSU will win the game, but my head is thinking otherwise. Hey, you know the truth. You know the truth, man. You know the truth. KCS, how would that conversation with Luke even be held? We going to start DJ, and his series we know will be trash. So we'll go with Brock. He'll be trash, and then you'll play Luke. Doesn't make sense. I don't necessarily think it makes sense either, KCS. And I don't disagree with you in the sense of there was a lot of talk that I think Luke expecting to play year one was kind of ridiculous, knowing who the quarterback was at the start of the season, and even knowing that if DJ was to get hurt, the guy that was ahead of you also had some game experience. Say what you want about Brock Glenn. He's not responsible necessarily, but he is an ACC champion quarterback. That's something. I believe last year's starts for Brock Glenn were very pivotal in his development, even though he wasn't great. It was pretty obvious to me that against Clemson, the game is slowed down for him. He still got ways to go. But he looked a lot more competent against Clemson 2 weeks ago than obviously he looked any point as a true freshman last year. And that's to be expected. The game is slowed down for him. He's going to continue to get better. This notion that Luke Kromenhoek thought he was going to come in and play day one is either a flat-out lie or Mike Norvell is insane. Like, he should be medically diagnosed as insane. Because if your whole recruiting pitch was to Luke Kromenhoek, you're going to come in day one. Why the hell do we waste 5 weeks? Come on, y'all already know where I'm going with this. Like, do I need to rehash this? Y'all know how this statement ends, or question. Rhetorical question at that. Why the hell did we waste 5 weeks on DJ Uiagalelei? If the intention was, and your recruiting pitch was, no, you're going to have a job. You're going to have a right to play. If that's the case, you go to Brock Glenn even earlier. And if he starts stinking it up, now the whole quarterback situation has been so mismanaged. And honestly, from the time that Mike Norvell's got here. Now, I gave him a lot of slack when he initially got here because most head coaches, when they first get to a place, they want their guys, particularly quarterbacks. So when he got here initially, of course, you have James Blackman, you have Jordan Travis, but he brings with him Tate Rodemaker and Chuba Purdy. So it's and Purdy's hurt, or we probably would have saw Purdy pretty early. But obviously Purdy got hurt and Purdy didn't get an opportunity. But it's no secret that this man went with Tate Rodemaker. If I'm not mistaken, Tate Rodemaker started against Miami in that 52-10. Or either Blackman started and they benched Blackman and went straight to Tate. Like, he did that. I think Tate started, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody can correct me. I'm almost positive Tate Rodemaker started against Miami. He started against Jacksonville State, and Jordan Travis came in and salvaged that game. It was pretty clear that Mike wanted to play his guys. Unfortunately for him, and fortunately for us, Jordan Travis Jordan Travis wouldn't be denied eventually. But even the following year, he brings in Mackenzie Milton, and I thought they were justified in pulling Jordan Travis in a Notre Dame game. Jordan Travis's game against Notre Dame was pretty bad. And Milton did provide a spark. But then it became apparent as the season goes on, and one of the key things I said after the Notre Dame game, I go, okay, you're going to make this move with Milton, I'm all for it. But if we're going to run a dual quarterback system, that's stupid and it's going to fail. And what did they do against Jacksonville State that year? They're throwing Jordan Travis at wide receiver. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They played that game as if it was a dress rehearsal and lost the game. He's mismanaged the quarterback every step of the way until Jordan Travis could not be denied. And now that Jordan Travis is gone and we see a wide open quarterback position, he brings in DJ Uiagalelei. I don't got a problem with it. I think that's smart. Brock Glenn's probably not ready at first thought. Your freshman quarterback, you don't want to burn him too quickly. You want to let that simmer in the pot, So you bring in a guy like DJ. I'm cool with that. Now, y'all know who I wanted, but even and there's other guys, quarterbacks you could have went out and get. But ultimately, I said, okay, we got DJ. They'll make it work. Well, they couldn't make it work. We didn't expect our offensive line to regress back to 2019, 2018 levels of bad. Like, that's crazy. We didn't expect that. And then DJ Uiagalelei is not good. When he did have time, when he did have wide open, he would overthrow, underthrow, throw interceptions, or guys would flat out. So couldn't fix him. Couldn't fix DJ Uiagalelei because he wasn't very good, and no one around him gave him the help to mask his deficiencies. Okay? And here we are now. It took you 5 games to figure that out. Nobody knows why, but it did. And the moment you start Brock Glenn, reports come out of this disgruntled freshman quarterback. Now that's crazy to me. Again, those are either clickbait articles that are just getting people to click, which I know a lot of people have a lot of things to say about FSU beat, and rightfully so, because FSU's beat, they do things like this, and they've notoriously done things like this where you don't feel like our guys that cover our team in the best interest of the team, in my opinion. So even if it's clickbait, then that's one thing. But if these are honest reports, I'm sitting back and I'm asking, how do you continue to let the quarterback room be so? You're the offensive coordinator, offensive mind. You're supposed to be one of the better play callers. How can you mismanage that, the most important position on the field, time, and at least since the time you've been at Florida State? Since the time he's been at Florida State, here we are. My hope is that there is no quarterback controversy. At the end of the day, I don't even care, honestly. I don't care if Luke Wimmelhoek is disgruntled. I'm not playing him. If the whole plan is I'm going to leave because I'm not playing, man, good luck to you. Because if I'm being completely blunt, you don't have enough film. Even if you transfer, guess what you're going to do, Luke Wimmelhoek? You're going to sit the next place you transfer, unless you go transfer to Buffalo. Like, if that's the level of football you want to play at, then by all means, go play there. But no matter if you're trying to go to another major program, dog, you're gonna sit. You're going to sit because that's just where you are in your development. FSU, for the second half of this season, needs to swim or sink with Brock Glenn, period. Because you're either going to find out that he can play or he can't play. If he can't play, then Luke Kromenhoek is going to be the starter next year anyway. If Brock Glenn goes out there for the next 6 games and is as bad as DJU or slightly better, Luke Kromenhoek's going to have a real shot to start, if not be the starter by default next year anyway, because Mike Norvell's career will lean on that. If he's good, however, Luke Kromenhoek won't do anything, in my opinion, but improve off of that. Because guess what? Competition in the offseason is going to be crazy if Brock Glenn actually shows that he's an actual quarterback. Luke will learn some things from Brock. Iron sharpens iron. Isn't that what we say? I know this is a different age of football, and instead of iron sharpen iron, as soon as someone looks like they're too sharp, the other knife gets out the drawer and runs down to the block to the neighbor's house. I get all of that, but in my thoughts, if Brock's good, that's awesome for the quarterback competition and the development of both guys. If Brock's bad, well, Luke's playing anyway. I don't understand what the rush is from Luke Kromenhoek. If those reports are accurate, I don't understand what's his rush of getting on the field. You don't see the offensive line, Luke Kromenhoek? Like, you really want that offensive line blocking for you? You don't see the receivers continue to drop ball? You like, that's the guys you want to throw to? Maybe you do. Maybe it's the competitive nature in you that thinks you can fix the team. I admire it. I appreciate it. But then you also have to have somebody reeling this young man in and saying, hey, look at what this offense is. Take this time, learn, watch, film, all of that stuff. Next year will probably be your time. Let this guy potentially be the sacrificial lamb. And again, I expect Brock Glenn to sink or swim. I mean, he has no choice at this point. But I don't understand why Luke would even want to play. I mean, I get the competitive nature. But Luke, you do see what everyone else is seeing. Wouldn't you want to take this time so next year you were prepared? Maybe that's just me. I know I kind of went on a long time there, but let me get back to the comments. You can hit the like button if you wouldn't mind. Panama says Luke needs to be patient and go through his process. Brock Glenn deserves to get his chance right now. How would that come? Oh, I think I already read this one. Hank Moody says he's agreed. He's 100%. In hindsight, Mike should went with Brock from the beginning and never went after DJ. Well, especially if the whole conversation with Luke Kromenhoek was, I'm going to play you year one, then you're 100% right, Panama. I still think they should have gotten a transfer quarterback based on what we had seen. I didn't have didn't have a problem with it. But if the conversation, like I was talking about, was that Luke Kromenhoek was the recruiting pitch on Luke was you're going to be a day one contributor, then it didn't make any sense to go get DJU or any transfer quarterback for that matter. You should have just stuck out with Brock because eventually Luke Kromenhoek was going to have his opportunity. At least that's my thinking. The only thing about the Fuller point is the defense has always looked bad, minus last year. We've been calling prefer to get axed last season. Saved him. Well, again, that's I would say it hasn't always looked bad. I get what you're saying, especially the first 2 years. I don't think the defense had looked bad in year 3. It wasn't great in year 3, but I wouldn't say it looked bad. They were like a top 30 defense in year 3. So I won't say it again. It wasn't bad in year 3. And then last year, obviously, you yield a championship defense. And that kind of just goes to my point. To fire somebody after putting out championship caliber unit. Again, I wouldn't say I wouldn't do it. I just think when you're talking about hiring the next guy, how do you convince that guy that this is a good job when he's looking and going, man, you just fired a guy whose defense was a strong point of your team had all the guys drafted all. Like, you want me to come now coach a defense, and I don't even have the job security that you're gonna. I don't have any type of security that I can have a couple seasons to get it together because you're gonna fire me. Like, that's what I think. When recruiting Luke, I think we can agree Tate would have started before Brock, right? Mike would have rode that out just like he did with DJ. So no matter what, Luke would have still had 2 guys before him. That's just fair. I get what you're saying, because Tate only leaves because Tate Rodemaker gets wind that FSU's looking at a quarterback. So that's fair. If you don't look at a quarterback, then that's a good point. That I forgot about Tate Rodemaker. If you don't bring in a transfer quarterback, Tate Rodemaker doesn't leave. And I agree to the standpoint that FSU, they should rock with Tate Rodemaker to start the season, in my opinion. I actually think that team looks better with Tate Rodemaker. And I'm not saying Tate Rodemaker is great. Obviously, at Southern Miss, he has not been. But that is a guy who's been here. We saw what he did against Louisville. Like, we saw Tate Rodemaker. He knew the offense, knew the coaches. At least he would have known everything that was around him. All that stuff matters, when we talk. That's one of the downfalls of the transfer portal era that I don't think people talk enough about is, and I talk a lot about it with the offensive line when I say I don't understand why we rotate so many guys, because we don't build cohesive units. But as a team, we need to build cohesive units, and that's the downside with the transfer portal, in my opinion, is you thrust Terrence Ferguson, you thrust DJU and these other players into an off season for 6 months, and then say, but effective offense is like, we'll just go back to 2013. Jameis is the only new addition to that offense. That O-line's intact. That receiving core is intact. Tight end intact. Running back room intact. That was a well-oiled machine already. You just needed that Ferrari engine that was Jameis Winston to get it going. But everything around it was pristine. And because it had years to go through the trials and tribulations and the growing pains. We don't do that no more in transfer portal. We try to glue everything together in one mess and think it's going to get fixed magically over the course of one off season. If they would have stuck with Tate Rodemaker, I think that thing looks a little bit better. So that's a good point, KCS. I forgot about Tate Rodemaker. So that's a good point. And it does make sense, again, to the recruiting pitch. I'm not sure why Luke thought he was like, doesn't make sense to me either. Usually when things don't make sense, in my opinion, they're not true. If something doesn't make sense, it's usually a lie. I don't believe, and I have a lot of criticisms of damn Mike Norvell. I don't believe the recruiting pitch for Luke Kroll-Mahonk was, you're going to play year one, and this kid's disgruntled because his promises aren't being met. I don't believe that. I'm tired of these coaches feeling like some kids need more development. I think Elijah Moore and LaWayne McCoy is ready, but these coaches take long in their so-called development. I think certain positions need that. I think certain positions need trial by fire. Certain positions don't. Your O lineman and D lineman, in my opinion, don't need to be rushed, because those are positions that require a body transformation. The muscles, the body has to catch up with what's being asked of it. The demand that asks on those, on the wear and tear on the body, those demands, the body has to catch up. But I wholeheartedly agree with you on the skill position guys. Skill position guys, I believe you put them out there trial by fire. I don't think, me personally, that skill position guys get better by sitting on the bench. I think you put them out there. That's to the point we were just making, Panama, right? These coaches were forced to play auto, which I think he needs more time to develop. But some of these skill players are ready now. Freshman receivers are playing and being productive all across the country. And that's to the point we just made, right? Otto, who actually I think played admirably, but you can see it. And you can see that the strength's not there. The man was getting tossed around a lot, flat out trucked over in a couple one-on-ones. Like Otto he definitely could use some more. Whole 100%. But at least he looks like he's competent and knows how to play. Now he just needs the demands need to catch up with the body, like I was saying. But yeah, I agree, man. The skill position guys, they need to be out there. That's just me though. Galaxy, what's going on? He says because they're so close in classification, you would lose one anyhow when recruiting QBs. If you can have to skip a year in between of bringing one in that's elite. What's up, Brandon? What's up, Island Boy? Do I think he opens up the offense totally for Brock? I don't know if opening up the offense is the wording I would use, but I think after 2 weeks you better have a game plan for Brock, a legit one. You better have legit stuff that you know Brock can run, is confident in running, wants to run. Right? After 2 weeks of prep, I don't know if opening up is the word, but you should have a set of plays. Long, we talked about the script. Well, your script should be fairly long as far as Brock goes. Everything that's being run should be to his strengths, and you shouldn't be asking him to do anything outside of his comfort zone. Also, if Luke is playing that damn well at practice that you guarantee playing time, then why the hell wasn't he on the damn field? Like the movie Drumline when the president told the band director, I want my boy on the field. Yeah, I'm not so sure. I don't know if I believe any of the practice reporting at this point. So, I mean, take all of that with a grain of salt as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah. That's the quarterback situation pretty much. I mean, we pretty much went in depth about that. Good conversation, folks. That's what FSU's dealing with right now in that quarterback room. I honestly think that most of it is much ado about nothing. I don't think it is as disgruntled as the media would make it would try to paint the picture. Like in my opinion, like I get it, man. You got subscriptions to sell. I get it. It's a business. Y'all got rents and mortgages and car payments that y'all got to pay. And I'm talking about the media right now. I'm talking about FSU's beat writers. I get it, man. You know, you need to drive up your own subscriptions and articles, clickbait articles like that, draw up the subscriptions. But even if there's a smidget of truth to that, in my opinion, you don't even release that article. Because that doesn't help anybody with you bringing up that not only can't FSU, not only did FSU botch the DJU thing, they're 1-5, but now the future of the program, arguably, and Luke Kromahoke is disgruntled. What picture are you painting for? That's all I can do, man. Watching Glenn play, he takes shots. He has. Well, you know what? I'm okay. I get what you're saying, but look, he's got to play his game. He's got to play. Trying to change his game is not going to help him out. Okay, he's got to play his game, and if he gets hurt in the process, well, that's the damn game of football. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying he's got to play the game. He's got to do this. He's got to do the two-step that got him to the dance in the first place. Trying to learn a whole new dance routine on the night before is going to make you look foolish. Do what got you there, and we're just going to have to live with those results. And during the offseason, we can work on trying to protect yourself and maybe but as of right now, being thrust into the situation in midseason, do what got you there. Because once you start talking about protecting himself and playing timid, it goes out the window now. You're not playing the game that got you here. You're thinking too much instead of, reacting naturally. No, just play. Just play, and we 1-5. Everybody can't speak from a place of being undefeated right now, Galaxy King. Congratulations. When you're 1-5, You have to play football and live with the results. And trying to change things to that degree on the fly, trying to change a guy's playing style, nah, don't buy it. Don't think it helps him, the team, or anybody else. I mean, arguably it helps him because he might not get his head cracked, but you know what? That's going to happen anyway because it's football. And then, last week or 2 weeks ago, it's not like he was running. He had that one scramble that I remember. FSU didn't use him on any design runs. I don't think he kept it on any of the read option stuff. So, yeah, it's not like he was running the ball a lot. And when he does, run it. I don't care. Get hit. Don't slide. Fight for the first down. Do everything you need to do. So, I don't want to see Luke. I know that's going to be the conversation week after week, especially the games that Brock Glenn is going to completely. And he's gonna Brock Glenn is gonna have those stinkers, man. Brock Glenn is gonna have the game that he might throw 3 interceptions. Like that. That's probably going to happen. I still say you stick with him. And if the argument that you want to play Luke is because if he doesn't play, he's gonna leave. Bye. Goodbye. Like you cannot let you can't let an 18-year-old hold a $10 million coach hostage. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, if that would just be another example of Mike Norvell mismanaging. Because what you're telling me is that Mike's damned if Mike plays him too early, then he's damned anyway. And if you're saying if you don't play him, he leaves, well, then you're damned. Again, you're damned. So you're damned anyway. So it's irrelevant. Norvell put himself in the position that he's in with the quarterbacks, if all accounts are true. If not, and this is just much to do about nothing, then that's even better. For all we know, Luke ain't said none of this stuff, and he's listening to this or anybody else talk about this. Like, what the hell are these guys talking about? I'm fine. I understand my role. That may very well be a possibility. But Brock Glenn should play the last 6 games, barring injury. Whether he's good, bad, or indifferent, he should play the last 6 games. And again, you're 1-5. Is anybody thinking? We're all pretty honest at this point. 1-5. There's no bowl game in sight. FSU would have to go at best. What are we honking for? At best, FSU would have to go 5-1 down the stretch. That's 6-6. 5-1. No, that's Notre Dame. That's on the road at Notre Dame. No, and Notre Dame's not even great, but no. That's Miami next week. Rivalry game, cool. No. Anybody think we're beating Florida? Because I've watched the Gators against Tennessee. I've watched the Gators recently. I watched them against UCF. Florida State's not beating the Gators. I'm going to be very clear. A team that we all said was garbage coming into the season, and then Miami ran them out of the swamp in week 1. FSU's not beating Florida. Lagway's going to look like a senior quarterback against these. So there's no bowl game. The hope is maybe you beat Duke. You could probably beat North Carolina because they suck. And you can beat Charleston Southern. That's a 4-win team, which is nasty stuff in year 5. Absolutely nasty stuff. No excuse for any of it. If the man didn't have the contract he had, I'd be storming the Capitol. And I ain't talking about nation's capital. I'm talking about Tallahassee. But there's no point of me talking about firing the man because he's not going to get fired. So now we got to think about, okay, if he ain't getting fired, who around him needs to be replaced? And what do we need to do going forward? Staff. In a perfect world, I'm firing 2 on offense and 2 on defense. On the offensive side, I'm getting rid of Chris. He's not going to do this. Again, this is what I would do. He's not going to do this. I'm firing Chris Thompson. But obviously, there's a level of trust there. And Mike wants him around. I don't know what the hell he does, but Mike wants him around. I'm firing him, and obviously I'm firing Dugans. I'm keeping Atkins. He's on a short leash, but I'm only keeping him because I'm getting a real offensive coordinator who can coach wide receivers and be an OC. And I'm filling that tight end position with a guy who's also a dog recruiter. On the defensive side, my hope for Randy's gone, and in my opinion, JP's got to be gone. Period. I know people want to keep JP because, man, anybody can score special teams. Miss me with that. Randy's gone, JP's gone, and my hope would be that Odell would retire, and that would just magically free up another spot because I don't believe they will fire Odell Higgins. Just retire, my guy. Just retire and free up that spot for somebody. Those are the things that we need to talk about. But firing Mike Norvell don't need to be talked about because, it'd be like wishing every day that it would magically rain root beer or something. Okay, it's never going to happen. For the next 5 years, that's not going to happen. So there's no point in talking about it. But there's a bunch of things that can happen that can at least try to get this man on the right track. Ultimately, the problem with Mike Norvell is internally. His philosophy either needs to change or he's just going to be stuck in the mud, period. And when I say his philosophy on how to run a major Power 5 program. What he's done to this point, the facts are he's ran it like a G5 program, and that's why you are where you are in year 5. That unfortunately is the truth. They've recruited with the mentality of we don't need to go recruit the best players. We just need to recruit guys that want to be here. We need to recruit hardworking individuals. We can turn them into something. At Memphis, that works. At Memphis, you just want guys who will play hard for you. At Florida State, if you're not recruiting the best athletes, you're behind. That's his philosophy, and that philosophy has failed him. And until he changes that philosophy, it almost doesn't matter, honestly, who he hires. It is what it is. He needs to get on the phone with Nick Saban this offseason. Hell, he needs to do it tonight. And he needs to get on the phone. Forget it. Don't get on the phone. Go fly to Nick Saban. You need to have a 5-hour conversation with this man about how to run a Power 5 program in the state of Florida. I don't care if it's in the ACC, Big Ten, if FSU. I don't know where FSU ends up, if we even end up leaving. Don't care about none of that. You're in the state of Florida, and instead of recruiting the best athletes, you are recruiting guys who want to be here. That's what he's done. That's a recipe for failure, as the proof is in the pudding, as you see. It's the only reason why you are where you are, because the roster wasn't able to maintain after guys have left. Alex Atkins, you've been here from the jump street. You've been here 5 years. Andre Otto, a redshirt freshman, is the only guy you've recruited. Jalen Early. Those are the only guys that you've actively recruited out of high school in 5 years. Offensive line should be riddled with his guys. But it started off the year with a bunch of transfer portal guys and 2 Willie Taggart guys that you inherited, and Maurice and Darius, if we're just being honest. Because instead of going recruiting the best, you recruited guys that want to be here. So that's just my thought process, guys. I know that really wasn't a part of the whole conversation piece, but I mean that needs to be said. And I don't know if anybody else is saying what I'm saying, but that's what I'm saying. Why the hell is Warchant? Because we're a road underdog. It ain't. Look, Warchant is accurate. By the rule, FSU, a side game, is a road underdog. That's why. It technically is a tie. Now, whether they treat it as a side game or not, because it's Duke, I mean, that's up to the coaching. That's up to them. But this is 100% a side game. Your Florida State Seminoles, my Florida State Seminoles, all the colors. I don't know about anybody else, but I got it tatted on me. Is a sod game because you're a 3-point dog to Duke on the road. That's embarrassing, man. That is insane. Absolutely hard to wrap my mind around the fact that in a year 5 of a coach, not only are you a road underdog, you're 1-5 going into that game. That is crazy. That is crazy. You keep JP for special teams specifically. JP special teams has won a few. No, you're entitled to your opinion and you're allowed to have it. This is not NFL. This is college. I'm not keeping a guy for special teams. The job in college is to get the best talent. We got to learn from our mistakes, guys. You don't keep. I don't want to get on too much of a rant because, again, KCS, you are entitled to your opinion. You don't keep a guy to coach special teams when I can replace that guy that, I don't know, might actually recruit big-time defensive ends like we used to. I'm sorry. I will take the talent over. And your recruiting should be trumping your special teams. FSU shouldn't even be relying on special. I'm not saying that special teams don't matter. I'm not saying that good. Of course they matter. My point is, anybody can coach them. This isn't high. This isn't the pros. This is college. I need recruiters on my staff, not special team coaches. You said the recruiting class would plummet. What recruiting class, man? What are you talking about? There's no recruiting class. And the guys I'm talking about him firing ain't recruited nobody. So there is no recruiting class, Galaxy. I got it. Nah. I don't know. You're a Miami fan, so you're not necessarily speaking of a place of knowing what you're talking about. But the guys I said that need to be fired, they ain't got nobody committed right now that's worth a damn, in my opinion, anyway. No, absolutely. Once December comes, you start firing the people that need to be fired. We getting it done. I mean, I'm not saying we ain't getting it. I have a hard time picking us losing. Like, again, this is one of those hearts versus heads moment. I'm not going to pick us to lose to Duke either. I haven't done my score prediction yet, but we're going to do that. We're going to do that anyway. But I wouldn't. This is a Korean. I don't even know what that won. For 500, this is 500 won, Korean. I wouldn't bet this on Florida State to beat Duke. I'm just letting you. And 500 won, you can do the math. This is like 25 cents or something like this. Like 500 won is like 25 cents or something like that. Something crazy like that. I wouldn't bet this on Florida State to beat Duke. I wouldn't bet this bottle of foot powder for Florida State to beat Duke. Hell no. I might pick them to beat Duke, but I ain't losing no sleep because I've watched the team for 6 weeks. I know what it is. So, yeah, sure. We're getting the dub. I'm with you. Let's get the dub, but I ain't betting on it. And I would advise any of you not to bet on it. Please don't come on the instant reaction saying that you lost your cat, your dog, and your house because you knew there was no way FSU would lose. Now, don't do that. Don't do that. We have 10 recruits. Right. That recruiting class can't plummet any more than it is. No, you make the firings. You absolutely make the firings, Momo. Oh, see, Galaxy? Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, like I said, it's the first to 20. First to 20. First team, because Duke doesn't have a great offense. I mean, if that's the one thing that wants to keep you with faith is like I don't see, and Murphy's not a runner. He's not a mobile quarterback, so that helps. FSU ain't got to worry about this guy making a bunch of plays with his legs. So, if anything, the fact that you don't have a mobile quarterback you're worried about, Duke's offense isn't necessarily electric by any stretch of the imagination. Like I said, Duke averages 3.5 yards a carry on the run. FSU averages 2.2. Both running games absolutely are trash. So Duke isn't electric offense. That's the one solace you have that say FSU can pull this one out. And maybe if Brock's and guys actually catch the ball, maybe FSU can score 24 points. That's the recipe to win. But that's the only thing. Hopefully, Duke's offense doesn't find a pulse against us, as kind of seems to be the trend with most teams. Maurice Lovelace says, you're spot on. He is running a Power 4 legacy program like a G5. That really is it in a nutshell. You have to be cutthroat recruiting program to be in the Power 4. This season proves it. Yeah. I mean, like I said, the proof's in the pudding. And that's why I say until his philosophy changes, if his philosophy can change, which I don't even think people realize how much that is asking of a coach. Ultimately, he is who he is. To think that in one season, his entire philosophy on how he views coaching football would change is asking a whole lot of any individual. Coaches are very prideful individuals, man. Their philosophy works for them. How many coaches have you seen have a complete change in philosophy? And I'm not talking about, switches from an offensive team to a defensive team like Saban's teams made that evolution from being hard-nosed running teams when he first got there to throwing the ball a gazillion times. Like, that's not Saban. That's not his philosophy shifting. He just allowed his offensive coordinators to adjust with the times, and he brought in guys. He understood the evolution of the game. But Saban's philosophy never changed. That was recruit the best and coach them hard. His core philosophies, I'm sure, never changed in his time in Alabama. Ultimately, I think that's why he retired, because his core philosophy wouldn't change. And the way college football was going, I don't think he wanted any part of it. Most coaches don't change the core, what they are. And Mike Norvell, at his core, believes that, and again, it's just not the case at the big time level, but he believes he can turn water into wine. He believes, just give me a guy who wants to be here and I'll squeeze the most. I'll get him. He believes that. To his detriment at Florida State. Again, at Memphis, that works. At Memphis, that works. Florida State, that don't work. It's going to come down to the freshmen. Can they catch the ball? Are the freshmen going to get opportunities? So here's some good questions before we do a score prediction, and then eventually I get up out of here. I don't want to keep you guys too late. It's about 10:30. It's 10:37 Eastern time. I don't want to keep y'all too late. But let's ask some questions here since you brought up how many snaps do we think Elijah Moore gets? How many snaps do we think LaWayne McCoy gets? Between the two of them, I'll say 2 or 3. And they'll be on the field, but they won't get targeted. And that's just what I think. I don't know if the freshmen are going to get opportunities to catch the ball. I guarantee you see the 1 in 21 out there like you seen every week this year. Not only do I guarantee you see them out there, I guarantee you both of them get at least 1 to 2 targets because for some reason we got to throw them the ball even though they continuously show us to not throw them the ball. I just want to see us be more aggressive with the play calling, not running between tackles every first down and ending up with the 2nd and 13. Mix it up, be aggressive, nothing to lose, dogs to Duke. Duke plays elite level defense, top 25, probably the best you guys played all season to take the under this game. I understand what their ranking is. They're actually ranked behind Clemson. I will take, and I'm not saying Manny Diaz coaches good defenses. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not saying that Duke's defense isn't better or isn't good. I would take all of that with a very huge grain of salt because of their schedule shows that they haven't played in. They've played Elon, Middle Tennessee State, UConn. Half of their schedule. Let's go to the actual whole schedule of Duke, just so I can be accurate in what I'm about to say. I know what I'm about to say is right, but I want to list the team. They've played Elon, they played Northwestern, they played UConn, they played Middle Tennessee State, and they've played North Carolina. The best team that they've played is Georgia Tech, and they lost that game 24-14. Okay. And that's a 4-2 Georgia Tech team. If I'm 5-2 Georgia Tech team. 5-2 Georgia Tech team. Well, everybody knows how absolutely god-awful North Carolina has been this year. That's a 3-4 North Carolina team. I'm just going down. Ultimately, as I go down, the point is take that defensive ranking with a huge grain of salt. They haven't played any. Now, our offense stinks. So FSU doesn't come in and change that. The point I am making, though, maybe you see the best athletes you've seen all season at Florida State's offense. A 2-5 Middle Tennessee team. They played a bad record. The UConn Huskies are somehow they're 4-2. So shout out to UConn. UConn's got wins against FAU, Buffalo, Temple. Okay, they lost to Maryland week 1, 50-7 though. But a 4-2 Huskies team. Is anybody saying the Huskies are a good team? I doubt that. I don't know what Northwestern is. I'm gonna just check on Northwestern, see what they are. And then a 3-3 Northwestern team. So again, they haven't played good teams. I would say take that top 25 defense with a grain of salt. It doesn't mean the defense isn't good. I would question if it's that good. But then again, I don't think Florida State changes that. Our offense is that bad that we'll probably make that defense look even better. Per war chant. Okay, well, we'll see. I don't disagree with neither one of these comments. But what did I just tell y'all? Mike Norvell says he can take nobodies and make them somebody. Like Jonathan says, 1-21, want to be here. So Norvell's that's his philosophy. Understand the philosophy of your head coach, and you'll understand why we do what we do. Once you understand the philosophy of your head football coach. Yeah, that doesn't mean FSU's gonna be great. Don't get it twisted, but I would, like I said, just take some of that with a grain of salt. Sure would be a shame, wouldn't it? I like your thought process there. Sure would kind of suck. McCoy is a starter based on what? The depth charts. So I mean, I guess if you want to take the or as a starter, the depth chart says Malik Benson or Jaylen Brown or LeWayne McCoy. Come on. LeWayne's not starting over Malik. I'll tell you that right now. I'm going to tell you that right now. I think Malik Benson has gotten a whole bunch of flack for no reason. I do not think some of the criticisms on Malik Benson are fair. He can't throw himself the damn ball. We've pretty much asked Malik Benson to run wind sprints all season because DJ couldn't get him the ball. When he did beat a defense over the top, he completely overthrew him every single time. The one time he completed a deep pass to Malik, it was an underthrow, or if he throws it on point, the guy walks into the end zone. Malik Benson, and I'm not saying Malik Benson is even a true number one or was going to be an NFL. I don't care about none of that. He's gotten a lot of flack for, I think, no reason. That's because everybody looking at all the other receivers in the transfer report on things saying FSU should. Malik Benson can't throw the ball to himself. He's not starting over Malik Benson. I'm telling you that right now. Maybe he'll get on the field more than Jaylen Brown. Maybe. Don't know if that's for sure. He's listed as an or. I would just say don't get your hopes up. I hope to see him. Don't get me wrong. I hope to see him. I would just say don't get your hopes up. Yeah, DJ, you threw 3 picks that game, my man. I mean, again, you're not wrong in the sense of it's not like our offense might not even be able to capitalize on anything. So you're not wrong. And again, I think Duke plays defensive sound football. Again, don't get it twisted. I'm just saying, like, I don't want to put too much stock in a top 25 defense. Like, we'll just see what it is. I would have a hard time, honestly, and it's hard to predict the future, and I don't know the kid personally. I have a hard time believing Dustin would hit the portal after FSU waited so long for that guy. After FSU waited so long for that guy to be eligible to play football, I have a hard time thinking Dustin Hill will hit the transfer portal. You talk about a slap in the face. You talk about some damning evidence. You're talking about saying that a guy should maybe be fired immediately. If the guy that you put on hold for, what was it, 2 or 3 years? I don't know. How long was it we had to wait on this kid to come here? Then if he would hit the transfer portal, bro, I don't know about that. It's a bad look. That's a bad look on Dustin, in my opinion. That's a bad look on the staff, in my opinion. I've been saying it all year, but if you go to social media, they'll tell you how sorry Malik Benson is. And again, it's just not true. And again, I'm not saying he's elite. I'm not saying he's going to play in the NFL. But Malik hasn't been the issue. It's been the guy throwing Malik the ball. What's up, Almighty? I think Brock Glenn definitely gives us a better chance for the rest of the season too. So with that being said, we're almost at the 2-hour mark. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to do my score prediction, and then we're going to get up out of here because it's lunchtime over here. So it's time to eat some lunch. But I'm thinking, go ahead and post your score predictions in the chat while I think of mine. I also want y'all to realize now, my score prediction is separate from everything we talked about tonight. We talked about real shit tonight. My score prediction is going to be built on a hope, a dream, and a prayer. So I just want y'all to be clear about that. But I'm gonna be a little extra. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna tell you, I think. I don't even believe what I'm about to say, but I'm gonna say it. I think Brock Glenn, and this isn't on Brock Glenn at all. This is just, I do think Duke is a well-coached defense, and I do think they'll play some tough defense. But I think Brock Glenn, with 2 weeks to prepare, I think he shows up. I think he shows out a little bit. I think he tosses about 3 touchdowns. I think them tight ends step up. I think the freshman wide receivers get some burn. I got Brock Glenn going for about 250 and 3 touchdowns. That's a good stat line. I got it 27. I think Fitz gets a couple field goals. I got Florida State scoring 27 points. Woo! I'll lose my mind if this happens. I got FSU 27. I got Duke 17. That's right. 27-17. Knowles. Clip it, write it down. I don't care what you say. That's what I got. Brock gonna show up. These freshmen are gonna make their impact felt. And we're gonna put some points on the damn board. And again, Duke's offense struggles. Not a good offensive team. They don't run the ball well. The defense, because the offense will finally show a pulse, the defense will play some inspired football. 27-17 as we build some momentum and get ready to go into the Hard Rock and pull the major upset of the year against some sorry-ass Hurricanes. Because Brock going to put up 250 against Duke. That Miami defense is food. You'll see what Brock does against Miami. That's right. I said it. I ain't going back and forth with none of y'all. That's what I said. 27-17 Florida State. I'm sticking with it. Kiss my ass if you don't like it. I don't care. Like I said, I'm not going back and forth. And as I always say, it's your boy POLK over here on 863 Seminole TV. Stay classy, Seminoles. We are out here. Go Noles. I will see y'all after the Duke game. Instant reaction. And I'm almost home. Y'all have a good rest of y'all evening. Go Noles.